The IDP Pros podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Bet365. Bet365 is offering new users a $1,000 risk-free bet. Sign up today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Bet365. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use the promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time has last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Use the promo code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase.
Yeah! Run him, run him! Stay on him, stay on him! On the ball.
The IDP Pro Players Pod is a proud member of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, home of the hottest, smartest, and fastest growing sports gambling and fantasy football providers in professional sports entertainment to date. And now, without any further delay, here's your veteran, infamous, no dirty O in-season and senior IDP pros, Johnny the Greek and Gary, the IDP tipster, coming off the edge as always with their deepest standard league NFL defensive takes.
Welcome back to the IDP Pros podcast. My name is Johnny the Greek. I am joined this week, just like every week, with the senior IDP analyst for the SGPN network, the man, the myth, the legend, the IDP tipster, Mr. Gary Van Dyke. Gary, what's happening?
Man, just sweating it with the Buckeyes on Saturday. But I'll tell you what, you ever notice there's one thing about the Buckeyes over the last decade or two? They always manage to come out second half and make the right adjustments. If the other team doesn't, they get way ahead. It just depends on the competition. But, I mean, in a game like they just had is the kind of example, I guess.
Yeah, and you know what? I think they broke the NFL curse of Buckeyes quarterbacks, too. Because, man, CJ Stroud, holy cow. That guy is for real, man.
No doubt. He's out there cheesing.
Yes, sir. Well, we got another action-packed week for everyone. I was talking to Gary before we kicked off here. Just an absolute dumpster fire shit show of things we did not expect, and we'll get through and we'll figure it out the best we can. Let's start with Steelers-Titans last Thursday night. The Titans side of things were looking pretty good. Azeez Al-Shaair at linebacker, 100%. Jack Gibbons, 82%. That's normal. At safety, we got some interesting news here. So Hooker, 100%. Terrell Edmonds, up to 85%. We'll talk about that in a second. Pass rush looks normal. Jeffrey Simmons, 86%. Autry, 65%. Harold Landry, 60%. Gary, are you buying into Edmonds becoming the full-time other safety here?
I think there was enough snaps to do that. Yeah, I got him as a waiver wire option in some deeper format. I mean, there's going to be production across here. Harold Landry kind of had a down this week, but I like the matchup kind of across the board for more of the normal guys like Autry up there. Simmons should be solid. I don't know. Landry might have a little problem this week.
Absolutely. And with Edmonds, this is 2 weeks in a row his playing time's gone up since he got to the team. So I think you're right. I think we're heading in the right direction.
Last 4 weeks, Tampa Bay has allowed the most fantasy production in most formats. We're up there.
Nice. That is a juicy matchup. Over on the Steelers side of things, Minkah Fitzpatrick was inactive, so we got Keanu Neal at 89% of snaps this week. That's bumped up a little bit. DeMonte KZ, other safety, 100% of snaps. Cole Holcomb, only 22%, did something to his knee. ACL maybe, he's done for the season regardless. So that gives a bump to Quan, 86% of snaps, and Landon Roberts up to 50% of snaps. We'll talk about this in a second. Pass rush looked normal. TJ Watt, 93%. Highsmith, 85%. Ogunjobi, 68%. And Cameron Hayward back from IR, 55%. And a nice game to start things up. Yep. So we got a couple different things going on here. So I assume you want Quan as the guy, or?
No, not necessarily. I mean, when I'm looking at per snap percentage, Roberts is the guy. I mean, he's lighting it up with 50% of the snaps, but slice them across the middle, even if nothing else, because I think in the long run, Roberts will probably continue to get more snaps. I don't see another option there. So I really like Roberts' upside per snap. He's just getting the job done a little bit better. But we'll have to, it might take a couple of weeks. I mean, what happens when Fitzpatrick comes back? Then all of a sudden they got Neal, which is actually a slash linebacker to begin with. And it's hard to tell, you know. And, of course, those two, Kazee and Neal, they're both still good, pretty solid this week for Fitzpatrick if he is out. And Cameron Hay and the guys up front, Ogunjobi, I like this matchup for Green Bay on the inside. It should be the edge rushers are going to have a heyday.
Yep. And I'm with you on that. So I think Quan slides into that Holcomb role, 90-ish% of snaps a week. And Roberts slides into that Quan role, but we'll have to see what happens when Fitzpatrick's on the field. We'll figure it out from there. Either way, probably a good idea to get those guys in waivers and wait and see. And what'd you think of Cameron Hayward's first game back? He looked good, man. He had 7 tackles and tackle for loss.
Yeah. I missed it in a couple of leagues, man. I pulled him off, stashed him, got behind, didn't think about it, and guess what? I missed Thursday's game. I'm hating life.
All good. Well, he's back now, so plug him in. Cam Hayward, a great defensive tackle option. Yeah. Top
hell of a
5.
matchup this week too. Yep.
Yes, sir. All right, so we're looking good in Pittsburgh and Tennessee. Let's move over to Chiefs-Dolphins. This was the Germany game. We'll start with the Dolphins. So at safety, we're looking good. Deshaun Elliott, 100%. Javon Holland, 100%. That's normal. At linebacker, looking pretty normal. Jerome Baker, 100%. David Long Dong Silver, 77%. Bradley Chubb, 82%. Jalen Phillips, 85%, up there a little bit. Van Stinkel down to 45%. At defensive tackle, Wilkins and Sealer, 95% and 93%, respectively. Pretty much normal here, except Stinkel going down a little bit. What do you think?
Sounds like status quo, I guess. I think they're going into the bye this week. Should get a chance to get Brandon Jones healthy, but Holland was back. So I think it just come out of the bye next week, and they keep rolling.
Over on the Chiefs, things are looking pretty much normal as well, except linebacker maybe. At safety, Justin Reed, 100%. Brian Cook, 89%. That's normal. At linebacker, Bolton obviously gone for quite some time. Drew Tranquil, 95%. That's excellent. Leo Chenal, 54%. Willie Gay, 40%. A little switcheroo there. We'll talk about that in a second. At pass rush, we're looking normal. Chris Jones, 84%. Karlaftis, 76%. Dana, 76%. Omenahu, 73%. And Mike Edwards is that third safety, 46%. What do you think of this, Gary? Did Gay get displaced by Chenal?
Gay came in there kind of questionable to begin with, and maybe even had an illness that I'm not 100% sure about that. Don't quote me, but if that was the case, game scheming, I'm not too concerned about it in one game.
Yeah, right. And that flu was definitely going around the Chiefs locker room, so that would make sense. And you're right. It's just one game, so we'll see if it turns into a pattern.
Karlaftis didn't have a really good game at all. Matter of fact, I think he had like 1 assist or something. So but you can expect him to bounce back. He's been a solid dude all year.
So, yeah, Chiefs are looking pretty good. We'll keep an eye on the linebacker situation, keep you informed. Let's move over to Falcons, Vikings. We'll start with Minnesota. At safety, the 3-headed monster continues to look good. Cam Bynum, 100%. Harrison Smith, 100%. Josh Metellus, 99%. At linebacker, normal. Hicks, 100%. Ivan Pace still down at 28%. Pass rush, Danielle Hunter, 93%. Wanham, 94%. And interior, Harrison Phillips, 59%. I got nothing on Minnesota.
Other than Jordan Hicks is a beast.
That is true. Over on the Falcons, looking pretty much normal as well. Grant and Bates at safety, both 100%. That's the usual. At linebacker, Ellis, 100%. Landman, a little bit of a bump to 99%. We'll take it. And then pass rush, Calais Campbell, 53. Anyamata, 68. Dupree, 59. Anything on the Falcons?
Should be a pretty productive game across the board for the normal guys. And keeping my eyes on this Kentavus Street. I can't remember if we mentioned him last week or if he had signed afterwards, but either way, he slid in there for the other dude that took Grady Jarrett's spot, and he got put on IR too at the same time. So anyways, he actually had some production Now he's being put in there in a decent situation. He might be able to pull that off. So just a deep dart throw maybe to keep an eye on for the future if you got some really deep defensive tackle guy to pencil in somewhere.
Yeah, we could always use depth at defensive tackle, that's for sure. The IDP Pros podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Bet365. Bet365 is offering new users a $1,000 risk-free bet. Sign up today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bet365. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use the promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time has last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Use the promo code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Let's head over to Seahawks-Ravens. We'll start on the Seahawks side of things. They also have a three-headed monster at safety. It's just a lot more dumb looking. So Quandre Diggs, 100% snaps. Jamal Adams, 86. And Julian Love still down at 39%. That's not great. At linebacker, Bobby Wagner, 86%. Jordan Brooks, 71%. Frank Clark, 50%. Jaron Reed, 63%. Taylor, 62%. Boye Mafe, 55%. Leonard Williams, 54%. Just a mess, right? So Leonard Williams came into this situation, and I don't think he's going to get the playing time we saw in New York.
They're going to have that deep rotation going as long as everybody's healthy. They always have and always will. It's the Pete Carroll way of doing it. So unless there's some drop-off with Jones or Edwards, Reed, yeah, Leonard's going to get a nice portion probably of the snaps, but it's going to be limited. So it does kind of cap them off in this matchup against Washington some. But Washington's a good interior defensive line matchup to begin with. I was impressed with Boye Mafe. I believe we brought him up last week or might have about, he seems to be kind of putting that together. And I think Leonard Williams being put in here with this rotation is going to help him. If you've seen what happened to Thibodeaux kind of had a rough game last game with their substitute with Leonard out. It's going to be interesting, man. They've put a little formidable interior play in here next to these guys. Gerald Taylor, he didn't do well either. He's still got a lot of upside. He had been producing off the edge here the last few weeks.
Yeah, tons of depth there now. And just if anyone's worried about the Wagner Brooks snaps, the Seahawks got the living shit kicked out of them. This was over by halftime, so they rested.
No.
All right, let's look at the Ravens. Same deal here. Everyone got to rest except a couple corners. So Brandon Stevens and Geno Stone, who is in for Marcus Williams, who was inactive, 100% of snaps each. Kyle Hamilton, 98%. That's normal. At linebacker, these guys actually played a good amount, even though this was a bloodbath. Queen, 98%. Roquan, 92%. Owe, 61%. Clowney, 61%. Matabukaki or Mata Dookie, whichever way you prefer, 57%. Van Noy, 45%.
Status quo. I still love Mataduki. Buki, man, I was never going to get that one together whatsoever, but he should, just by his own overachievements this year in matchups, should be solid enough this week. He might not get a sack, but I think he's going to get your 2 tackles, 2 assists, maybe a tackle for a loss or something. I mean, he's just become almost matchup proof for an interior defensive lineman, man. Love this guy. Can't keep toting him so much, but
yeah, I think he's had like a sack a game for a month and a half. It's absolutely insane.
Versus Cleveland, I mean, this was a big producer the first time they met each other earlier in the year. Was it the first game of the season? But it was early, and everybody had a really good day. But then we've got some new chess pieces in here.
We'll play the hot hand. He's been excellent. All right. Let's. Speaking of Cleveland, let's talk about Browns and Cardinals. We'll start with Arizona. Budda Baker, safety, 100%. Jalen Thompson, safety, 100%. And this is normal. This is what we should have gotten all year, so I trust this. At linebacker, Kazir White, 100%. Woods, 85%. Pass rush, Zaven Collins, 62%. Gardeck, 53%. Anything on the Cardinals?
Josh Woods actually held his own, so he's got another upside to him as a waiver wire pickup and a good matchup to back it up against Atlanta. Kaiser White's going to have a nice game too. I like us across the board for these interior defensive linemen. Dante Stills, Case, I think it's Kevin Strong, Ledbetter. There's nothing but upside with each one of those. We've seen Collins come alive a little bit, so maybe this is kind of a plus side. Not the best matchup, but maybe he's might be worth a dart throw.
All right, on the Browns, we got a bit more of a mess. So we'll start with safety, which is less of a mess. Juan Thornhill and Grant Delpit, 83% each. They both got to rest. This was a bloodbath as well. At linebacker, as usual, it's a dumpster fire. Anthony Walker, 62%. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, 50%. Taki, 40%. Fields, 33%. At pass rush, Garrett, 71. Dalvin Tomlinson, 63. Okoronkwo, 63. Za'Darius, 58. I mean, this all looks normal, man. You got it?
Yeah, they're just down a little bit across the board because it was a blowout. What was it, 0-40 or no? Wasn't that much.
It was like 27-0, something like that.
No. But either way, it looks like status quo across the board. Thornhill could be a nice DB2 type pickup this week against Baltimore. Again, we mentioned how the production was before. This should be a good divisional game in Baltimore.
That's true. And Watson's back for Cleveland, so their offense should be a little bit better. Yep. Let's move on to Rams and Packers. We'll start with the Rams side. Safety, we're looking good. Jordan Fuller, 100%. Russ Yeast, 92%. That's normal. At linebacker, bit strange. So Ernest Jones was inactive. We thought we'd get a Roseboom bumped. We did not. Roseboom, 74% of snaps. Troy Reader is 61%. So they just brought in Troy Reader for a little bit. Pass rush looking normal. Young, 85%. Hoke, 88%. Donald, 78%. What'd you think of that, Gary?
Well, no, I don't think we were shocked. I think we knew he might have been questionable, or maybe it was in my start sits. But Bruce Boom had all that upside. Troy Reader, I think that was a late signing. Last I heard, Troy Reader was with Minnesota. I thought that was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but don't quote me on that either, because here he is getting 61% of the snaps stepping right in. So just keep an eye on Jones. They're going into the bye week.
Yeah, hopefully he'll be okay after the bye week here. With that in mind, let's talk Packers. So Packers at safety, bit of a mess. So Jonathan Owens, we know that we have him now. Who the hell is he replacing? Savage?
Yeah. Jonathan Owens was officially replacing Savage originally.
Gotcha.
And
then
Rudy Ford out. Yeah, this other dude's popped up.
Right. So this week we didn't have Rudy Ford, so we got Anthony Johnson at 100% of snaps. We'll talk about that in a minute. Otherwise, we're looking pretty normal here. Devondre Campbell, linebacker, 100%. Quay Walker was inactive, but we knew we were going to get McDuffie, and we did. 93% of snaps. That's normal. Pass rush, pretty normal as well. Preston Smith, 66%. Gary, 62%. Kenny Clark, only 26%, but that's due to a shoulder injury. Yeah, do you trust this Anthony Johnson guy at all, Gary?
We had a few outliers this past week that just popped up out of nowhere, and Anthony Johnson filling in for Rudy Ford just was kind of a whammy. I mean, nobody really knew that was coming that I knew of. But McDuffie goes in here as normal for Walker. I think he might be questionable. They're at Pittsburgh, so it has a couple of interesting matchups. You might be able to see Preston Smith and Gary both have above par games, along with the inside linebackers is normal.
Yep, and we'll keep an eye on Kenny Clark. That hopefully that shoulder injury gets better soon. Let's move on to Bucks and Texans. We'll start with Tampa Bay. At linebacker, we're looking good. Devin White, 100%. Levante David, 99%. That's normal. At safety, we've got some shenanigans that we'll talk about in a second, but snaps for now, Antoine Winfield, 100%. Ryan Neal down to 28%. Christian Izzy up to 64%. Pass rush was completely normal. Shaq Barrett, 78%. Vita Vea, 69%. Joe Tyron Shoyinka, 67%. Gary, I read today that Ryan Neal, there's a nickname for him that the organization has. I forget the nickname, but it was...
Oh, come on, man. We need one.
It wasn't anything like funny. It was in reference to a 2007 draft pick that got burnt on coverage all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So they're implying that Ryan Neal gets burnt in coverage all the time, which he did.
Yeah.
If you saw the game yesterday, this is not looking good for him.
Apparently, this guy that you've been asking who Christian Iazine is, whoever the hell that guy is kind of how you put it, right? Kind of sounds like a watch. Say it for me. Say it real fast. It sounds like a watch.
Christian Izian.
Like a Rolex. Either way, he's got a lot of upside. He did get a boost as soon as Ryan Neal got beaten coverage. I think he got like 28% of the snaps, you might have said, and then Christian. Well, I'm not even gonna go there. Rolex. Well, I'll call him Rolex.
Right. He's been great for IDP. He's getting a ton of tackles and whatnot, but yeah, he's just getting roasted and toasted in coverage. So this ain't good. I don't think we can trust this like immediately. We need to see Izian as the guy for a week or two more, like you say, the 3-week rule. Yeah, 3-week rule.
Yeah.
Yep.
You gotta be pretty desperate.
Right. So we'll keep an eye on it for now. But the move here is don't start Ryan Neal next week.
Big red flag.
Big red flag. Absolutely. Alrighty. On the Texans side of things, we're looking pretty good. So at safety, Petrie, 100%, that's normal. Jimmy Ward, only 35% due to a hamstring injury. Houston Carson came in for him. We've seen that before. That's normal. At pass rush, Will Anderson, 61%. Jonathan Greenard, 71%. That's normal. At linebacker, a little bit different this week. So Cashman, still safe at 82%. Perryman, up to 65%. Christian Harris, who thought was dead and gone, up to 62%, and 2020 down to 20%. What the hell?
I don't know, man, but my heart broke when I seen that. I mean, even to have had some production, I had to put him in a deep lineup. Couldn't get anybody any better off the waiver wire. So, but when I seen those snap counts, man, I mean, Perriman is the only other guy that I think at this moment over Harris, even though that snap count was the same. I think it'd be Perriman per snap. The guy would go after Cashman, kind of as an LB2. They're gonna get some afterwards, but right now I can't trust Harris either. Just from prior, this could all flip flop next week too. So, but it does seem like Cashman and Perriman are locked in there.
I agree with that. I think Cashman is probably the safest option. Perryman's a decent option, and then it's just a freaking mess after that.
Right. And I can tell you just out of example, I guess Terrell Bernard, I think he got hurt for Buffalo this past week.
He got hurt. Yep.
Right. And Dorian Williams came in. But in total, there wasn't a lot of super production coming in. It's not like they played Cincinnati this week, and there's not normally like they run the hell out of the ball or anything like that. So, Cashman and Perriman, I mean, they should be safe to go this week, but I don't know if they're going to hit that kind of a huge ceiling again. You might see a couple less tackles.
That is true, since he does throw the ball more than they run. The IDP Pros podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Game Time. You ever been stressed out trying to buy tickets, trying to find them at the last minute, hunting down the best price, competing with other buyers for a popular event? Well, buying tickets should never be stressful, and Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy those tickets for all your sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Game Time has flash deals on last-minute tickets, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area, images of the seats' views, and the lowest price guarantee, along with event cancellation protection and job loss protection. Snag the tickets without the stress using Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CFBX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guarantee. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, and soccer bet using historical stats and data. Enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bets' revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. So stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 other users researching with Hall of Fame bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use the promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. All right, so we're looking good there. We got our order of operations. No Ward equals Houston Carson, Cashman safe, Perryman a little bit less safe, and Dumpster Fire beyond. All right, let's move to Commanders Patriots. We'll start with Washington. Looking good at safety. Percy Butler continues to be the other starter next to Cameron Curl, 100% of snaps each. That's normal. At linebacker, Jamin Davis, 100%. Mayo, 78%. That's about normal. Good on the interior. Payne and Allen, 78 and 77%. And then Casey Toohill, 66%. And something Smith Williams, 69%. Gary, any interest in the replacements for Sweat and Chace Young?
Hell no. Didn't they? Yeah, no, not these dudes. I mean, even across the board, I think everybody had one tackle or one assist in this last game. So heading into play Seattle, there's not any interest at all, even for Jonathan Allen or Darren Payne, because you know what's going to happen is that everybody's going to key off on double teaming those two on the interior until Smith Williams and Toohill get their shit together and put a little pressure on their outside. So I think this changes the dynamic of the entire defense. And I think that everybody past that defensive line, if they can't sack the quarterback like they were, they're just not going to be the same team. And that secondary is going to get hotter. Percy Butler actually had a little boost in production. So, I mean, in a long dart throw, you got to kind of look at this guy because that might pick up in certain matchups. And they just do a big-ass firecracker in the middle of the room, went pop.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Trade your best players. Love it. Ooh, hang on, Gary. We just had a sack. Herbert was sacked. It was Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah.
We just made a shitload of money.
Yep. And then I need one from Bryce Huff, too, so let me know, man.
I got you. We got Jermaine at least.
Yeah, I only need a quarter of a sack. I think it was like plus 170 or something.
Well, you got the full one, so you're good.
Well, no, I'm talking about on Bryce Huff. I think I got one plus 130 on Johnson.
Nice. Yeah, nothing for Huff so far, just Jermaine. All right, picking up with the Patriots. Looking pretty normal, if normal is possible on the Patriots, which it isn't. So Duggar, Peppers, Bentley, 100% of snaps each. That's relatively normal. Pass rush still weird. Jennings 71%, Barmore 71%, Dietrich Wise 69%, Uche 22%. What a waste! And then Jelani Tavai 68% at other linebacker. Any thoughts on the Patriots?
Just really confused how Dietrich Wise can just fall off the map and then come in and be a total beast. I think he had like 5 tackles and 2 sacks, something crazy, but not enough for me to get all excited about because it could flip-flop again. The only guy that still is our buddy Jennings. He's still a stable dude. He's getting something. I think we keep mentioning him. But, boy, Bentley came in with a force, didn't he? They got Indiana this week. Colts are allowing like top 10 points in overall IDP production. Depends, I guess, again, what format you're in. But it's up there. Should be a good, solid contest for each one of them. Just going to be rolling the dice as which defensive lineman. It's like Barmore had been tearing it up inside the interior defensive line, but all of a sudden God checks look like the old God checks of a long time ago. He's been in the league for a while, but either way, he went off this week. So it's kind of a roll of the dice, but I do like the matchups across the board for these guys.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another week of the Dirty O IDP Throwdown. I am your host, Axton Harding, here with my lovely co-host, Jake Culhagen. Per usual, you can find myself on Twitter at Harding_3, and you can find Jake at Late Round DB. Don't forget to go ahead and give us a follow if you like what you see. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and fire it up with our Week 10 picks. So what do you got for us on the IDP side, Jake?
All right. Starting at the defensive interior, I got Osa Odighizuwa of the Dallas Cowboys. He actually has the second best win rate among all defensive interiors defenders this season per PFF. Giants are one of the most favorable matchups when you look at the interior in terms of their PFF grading as well. And it's just a strong play versus a weak matchup. And I think this is one where Odighizuwa can easily match his averages, 3 tackles, half sack, and 0.75 tackles for loss. Yeah, let's not just a sack in the column for him and a few tackles in a wonderful Week 10. On the defensive end, we have Victor Dimokije of the Arizona Cardinals taking on Atlanta in a slightly favorable overall pass rush matchup. The Falcons do struggle a little bit more on the edge and the tackles than they do on the interior. But the Cardinals this week should be in a more competitive game script as well, with Kyler Murray news that he is returning, which should allow for more pass rush opportunities overall. Victor has a 17.8% pass rush pressure rate, so not the highest of volume, but enough volume that he's running out there and got the opportunities, and he's been highly effective with them. He also has the 13th best pass rush win rate at 25%. So averaging a half sack and 2+ tackles a game in a matchup against Atlanta, I think Victor easily notches those for us this week. At linebacker, a name we're much more familiar with in the IDP space, in Roquan Smith of the Baltimore Ravens. He's got 9.6 tackles per game, so that's a really high ceiling to hit, but I really like it this week facing Cleveland, who has the 3rd highest rush percentage this season of all NFL teams. You pair that with the fact that, all the tackles he already has. Part of that is the fact that Roquan has the 19th best run defense grade per PFF as well. I think this is set up beautifully for him to notch a 10+ tackle game easily. I think he adds in a splash play along the wall, some big tackle for loss, a pass deflection, or a sack or an interception in the pass game too. Lastly, Alontae Taylor of the New Orleans Saints. He's facing the Minnesota Vikings with the 3rd highest pass percentage this year. Taylor is also 3rd highest in targets faced this season among all cornerbacks. Tack on the fact that he is taking almost all of his snaps in that slot defender role, which helps with tackle production and efficiency. 4.5 tackles, 1 pass deflected average. Easy floor for him to hit in this matchup. I could even see him adding another splash play elsewhere. That's what we got on the IDP side.
Sweet. Some good picks there. Right on. I'll go ahead and fire up the offense. Quarterback, I'm going with Bryce Young against the Chicago Bears. He's kind of struggled up and down throughout this year, but he's shown a little promise, and the Bears present a good matchup for the quarterback. Against quarterbacks, they've allowed the 3rd most fantasy points per game. They have a top 3 D-pack and allow 269 passing yards and over 2 touchdowns a game. So I think Bryce Young is in a good position to beat a 200-yard average and about 1.2 touchdowns a game. So should be a good one for him. Running back, I'm going with Javonte Williams. Another one of those that's kind of had a slow start recovering from multiple ligament tears. He's going up against Buffalo this week, and as of the last few weeks, Javonte's really picked it up. He's been heavily getting more involved in the pass game, and I think he totaled his highest amount of touches on the ground this most recent week and set a season high for yards in a game this year. Against the running back, Buffalo has a top 7 D-pack. They allow 88 yards on the ground and over 47 yards in the air to running backs this year. Last 5 weeks, they've allowed almost 100 yards a game to a single running back. So I think Javonte Williams is in a good position to beat his 51-yard rushing average this week. So we're hoping he can punch it in the end zone. At wide receiver, I'm going to go ahead and go with Calvin Ridley. He's going up against the 49ers this week, and as we know from the past, the 49ers have been pretty damn generous to wide receivers this year. They present the number 1 D-pack to wide receivers, which, as a reminder, guys, is just basically an indicator of how often they allow a certain position to basically go off for their 75th percentile or higher in fantasy points per game. So they've been letting wide receivers go nuts. They allow the 6th most fantasy points per game and the 7th most yards allowed per game to the position. Calvin's playing behind Christian Kirk, so we've got a little bit of room to catch up with, I guess. But I think he can hit that 56-yard average this week. So last but not least, to wrap it up, we're going with a hot hand in Dalton Schultz. The Houston Texans going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals against the tight end have a number 1 D-pack. They've allowed the most fantasy points to the position on average, and they allow around 66 yards a game or more to the position. And Dalton Schultz has been hot with CJ Stroud in the last few weeks. I think he can easily beat that 44-yard average. So that's what we got for our Week 10 picks. Glad to have you guys back for another week of the Dirty IDP Throwdown, and we will see you here next week for Week 11. See you, everybody.
Let's head over to Bears and Saints. We'll start with the Bears side of things. So TJ Edwards, linebacker, 100%. That's normal. Jack Sanborn did get the bump with Edmonds inactive, up to 98% of snaps. We expected that. Eddie Skidmarks Jackson back in the lineup at 100% of snaps. Good for him. Brisker was inactive, though, so we got Elijah Hicks, as is tradition, as the first replacement safety for the Bears, 76% of snaps. New look defensive line, DeMarcus Walker, 67%, Ngakoue, 65%, Montez Sweat, 65%, and a big old contract. Any thoughts on the Bears?
And Montez Sweat is going to have the Panthers at home. Oh, he's going to make a statement this week. So he should have some good numbers. He should at least get a sack there. It's going to be interesting what it does for Ngakoue. Did I even come close, man?
Yeah.
And Walker, because it gives those guys a little bit of a break. But, hey, man, I nailed that shit, didn't I?
Yes, you did, and I agree completely. It could give them some production. Yeah.
Justin Jones has actually been producing a little bit on the interior there before, or Sweat has joined them. So it actually could be a really good forming boost in front of these linebackers.
Absolutely. Over on the Saints side of things, everything looks completely normal. So at safety, Marcus May and Honey Badger Matthew, 100% each. That's normal. At linebacker, Demario Davis, 100%. Pete Werner, 99%. That's normal. At pass rush, Granderson and Cam Jordan, 82% apiece. That's normal.
Looks like status quo, and I actually hit one last week with Cameron Jordan there getting his sack. He hadn't really been getting a lot.
Let's move on to Colts and Panthers. We'll start on the Colts side of things. At safety, normal. Rodney Thomas, 100%. Blackman, 100%. At linebacker, dumpster fire. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's cover pass rush first before we derail the train.
Get those guys out of the way, right?
Yes. So Buckner, 68%. Kwity Paye, 65%. Ebukam, 58%. Okay, linebackers. So no Zaire Franklin this week. So we thought, what? Leonard bump, speed bump, right? Leonard, 55%, speed, 45%. So they split one role. And then Segun Olobi, 100% of snaps at linebacker, whoever the fuck that is.
Yeah, it's another outlier, just like we was talking about that Anthony Johnson with Green Bay or whatever it was. Where'd he come from? But, I mean, at least that was a last-minute call. We've got another one to talk about here in a little bit. We haven't gotten the Panthers yet, have we?
Nope, all kinds of shenanigans this week. So hopefully Zaire is just back next week and we don't have to deal with this. But I guess the move is pick up Segun Olobi. I don't know.
I hate to say it, but I mean, if Franklin's out right now, it's not Ogu. Well, I can't even say it. I don't think he produced very much for being the guy leading everybody in snaps. I think per snap, you still got a nice production coming out of Leonard this past week. So I think if I was going to target anybody, you got to be stuck with what he's been doing, even if it is 50%. I can't believe how speed has just fell off there.
It has been weird, right?
Yeah. What's the score?
Still 14-zip Chargers. Moving on to Panthers here. So, hey, here are the Panthers. So we'll start with the non-crazy stuff. So at linebacker, Luvu, 100%. That's normal. Camu Grugier-Hill and Deion Jones, both under 40%. That's normal. At pass rush, Brian Burns, 75%. That's normal. Derek Brown, 87. Shy Tuttle, 52. That's normal. At safety, so Chin's on IR, Von Bell's inactive, Xavier Woods is back at 92% of snaps. That means Sam Franklin, right? Nope. Sam Franklin played special teams this week, and Alex Cook, whoever the fuck that is, played 100% of snaps.
Bless his heart, and I told everybody I was doing everybody a favor by not playing Sam Franklin this week. My bad. I even brought him up because basically I guess he was like sick, and the only thing that I could figure is he was questionable coming into the contest. So if I remember right, I think he was just like an emergency backup, and I couldn't even find Alex Cook on my fantasy football league.com this morning at 8:20 or some shit when I was like, who? Another outlier. I guess keep an eye on it, but I think the best suggestion is until Von Bell says he's ready to play, and perhaps when Xavier Woods, who got hurt again with the thigh, he's out. I'd avoid that whole situation. And it's going to be interesting with Brian Burns getting a concussion, because if he's out, this Barno and DJ Johnson, they actually might get some production by default going here. And the way the triage is built up for Carolina, I hope it won't be too long for Brian Burns to get out of the protocol.
So
I think Gross Mattis wasn't coming back until, I'm not sure. It was still a few weeks off yet.
Not great.
Less for Burns, more for Luvu.
What's that? Your computer has another virus? Well, my friend, you need help to stop your obsession with the dirty O. All of this searching for air yards and yards after catch and blah, blah, blah. Stop your dirty O obsession by searching for the IDP Pro Players Podcast instead, and focus on the other side of the balls. I mean ball. The crew on the IDP Pro Players Podcast care about you and your technology by holding true to their no dirty O mantra. Every week, Gary and Jon bring you the IDP content you need to save your rosters and dominate your league while avoiding the dirty O. So save your technology by tuning into the IDP Pro Players Podcast with your longtime and totally unoffensive veteran hosts, Johnny the Greek and Gary the IDP Tipster. Follow them on Twitter at I, D, P, RO. One word at the IDP Pro Players Pod.
What good is fantasy football content if it doesn't cover both sides of the ball? The SGPN IDP pros have you covered on defense, but we have more to offer than just IDP. Check out the 3D Dynasty podcast with Dave and Brad. That's right, the dude, the dork, and the dynasty. And follow that up with Heroes and Villains, featuring Justin Bruni and Andrew Robb. All of the SGPN fantasy football podcasts pride themselves on their actionable content. They bring the research and analysis you need to win your leagues. So help support SGPN and download the SGPN app and catch all of our premium fantasy football content.
Let's move on to Giants Raiders here, where things look a little bit more normal. So we'll start with the Giants first. At safety, totally normal. McKinney 100%, Pinnock 98%. Linebacker also looking pretty good. Okereke 100%, McFadden 80%. Pass rush looking pretty normal as well. Thibodeaux 85%, Jihad Ward 72%. Isaiah Simmons still a cup of coffee, 22% of snaps. Dexter Lawrence, 70%. Anything on the Giants?
Let's go back to the future, man. Just talk about week 1 or 2 or something like that when Dallas played the Giants in New York and had like 7 sacks. And I heard Daniel Jones went on IR. Isn't that a quarterback we know?
Right. So Tommy DeVito is starting next week against a Cowboys team that just lost a close game and is just going to annihilate them.
In Dallas. They better not blow it, man. Cowboys Dak better not blow this.
That's the type of game they would blow.
Right.
Absolutely.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see, we were talking about the Giants. Yeah, it sucks. Kayvon Thibodeaux and Dexter Lawrence both kind of took a little bit of dip in production. Matter of fact, Thibodeaux might have had his worst game of the last month or two. So I don't think he got much at all, maybe a tackle or a sack, or not a sack, tackle or assist. I don't think it was much at all. But I think that might be affecting the interior defensive line a little bit. It might affect their flow that they had going, Williams being there. Ashawn Robinson, I think, has been out the last couple of games. He's a good, solid veteran. They get him back in the rotation, see where that goes.
All right, over on the Raiders, things are looking pretty good as well. Safety, totally normal. Morig, 100%. Epps, 98%. Linebacker looking good. Linebacker looking okay. Spillane 100%. No Masterson. And no Diablo. So we got Amari Burney for 51% of snaps. I don't think we need to pursue this. That one of those two will be healthy.
Jalen Smith with the other 40 of that 51 combination. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So Jalen Smith also got 40, but Masterson or Diablo, one of them will be back by next game, I would think. We're getting to inception levels of replacements. Yep. And that's never good. Oh, and that's what I was going to say earlier. I totally forgot about this. So this season has been so bad with injuries in the replacements that what you were talking about with MFL not having that Alex Cook guy, I've run into that a few times this year where they've reached so far into the replacement barrel that the guy isn't even on the league hosting site.
Damn. Well, I'll tell you, as soon as I seen that, I was like, okay, I'm not messing around. I just went straight to contracts, and then Pro Football Reference kind of backed that up. But, yeah, this dude actually had like a $10,000 bonus or something aside. But we do have a Tyree Wilson showing the last couple of weeks when some really favorable matchups. He's gotten a little bit. He's got a little bit of momentum going into this week, but I wouldn't go diving deep for him, but he's worth keeping an eye on if you can build off of this because he's been worthless.
That's true.
Robert Spillane was playing with a messed up hand too, I think.
Yeah, Andy did all 100. That was pretty good.
He's a beast, man. Andy, he's kind of just, realistically, he's a little beast.
He's been great this year. And obviously, pass rush you just mentioned. So, Wilson had 51%. Max Crosby, 100% of snaps, 3-sack game. Just absolute monster.
Beautiful. Yep. Still strong this week, every week.
All right, let's move on to Cowboys and Eagles. Not how about them Cowboys this week. We'll start with Dallas and the safety situation, which continues to be a mess. So our guy Bell, Marquise Bell, up to 94% of snaps. That's awesome.
Oh, man, he's killing it.
He is. The other guys, not so much. Donovan Wilson, 84%. Hooker, 77%. Curse, 73%. So a mess beyond Bell. Damone Clark, still the inside linebacker to have, 92% of snaps. Parsons, you mentioned it. He did it. 2-sack game, 82% of snaps. Yeah. DeMarcus Lawrence, 61% of snaps. Everyone from Dorrance Armstrong on down, 42% of snaps or less for the rest of the pass rush. Anything else for the Cowboys?
This is, like I said, that Giants game that we was recapping from earlier, 7 sacks. DeMarcus Lawrence might even be able to pull another one off. Who knows? But everybody's got upside across the front. And I think Parsons, he's probably going to be unleashed. Maybe that's why Marquise Bell seen more snaps. Who knows? I think it's, was it Robert or Dan Quinn? And Dan Quinn is all, yeah. He likes the guy. So, but let's see that happen again. I still love him as a safety play, though. A good, solid safety play.
Absolutely. Great sleeper option where you can plug him in as a DB. Yep. Over on the Eagles side of things, a bit more normality. So safety, we're looking good finally. Kevin Byard, 100%. Blankenship, 100%. They got 2 solid options. Linebackers a mess. We'll talk about that in a minute. Pass rush looks okay. Sweat, 84%. Reddick, 80%. Interior, Fletcher Cox, 73%. Jalen Carter, 68%. That's all normal. At the third corner slot, where Sidney Brown was playing a lot 2 weeks ago, Sidney Brown down to 33% of snaps. They replaced him with an actual cornerback, so no more cheat code safety there. And then at linebacker, so Nakobe Dean came back from injury. Nakobe Dean exits with injury. 28% of snaps, foot injury. Morrow back up to 72%, and Cunningham up to 100%.
Let's just bury it and go on.
So they're on a bye anyway. If Dean can play coming out, then we're looking normal. If not, Morrow and Cunningham, we've seen this movie before. Before we move on to our final matchup, which is Bengals-Bills, make sure you check out the SGPN merch store where you can get 20% off this week using the promo code SECRETBONUS, all one word, Secret Bonus. And let's wrap up with Bengals-Bills. We'll start with the Bills. Safety looking okay. Jordan Poyer, 100%. Micah Hyde, only 81%. He suffered a stinger, but should be okay. Nothing permanent. At linebacker, bit of a mess. We'll talk about that in a minute. Pass rush is still a mess as well. Ed Oliver, 64%. Leonard Floyd, 50%. Russo, 43%. Epinesa, 44%. Von Miller down to 34%. Linebacker is the big story, though. So Bernard only played 43% of snaps before suffering a concussion. This skyrocketed Dotson up to 96% and brought Williams in for 44%. What do you think about that?
Well, you got to roll with it. He's going to be the next man up if Bernard's out with, what was it, a concussion? Or so it could be a couple of weeks here. Who knows? But, you got to put him on the radar. And Doreen Williams, as it goes. What else can you say about it? It's pretty solid. Everybody else is healthy. So let's see.
Yeah, and I would expect Williams to do what we saw last week, where he plays the running downs, first and second down, and then what's his face? Rapp comes in.
I don't think either one of them will probably have the green dot if it ain't Bernard. So,
right.
Hey, I'll tell you what. What was the snap count for Von Miller?
34%.
So I think he's gotten to play. I don't know. Would you take a wild guess? Like 90 snaps
total?
Yeah. yeah.
Not
right.
not many this season. Yeah.
I think he's got one assist.
Oof. They're definitely saving him.
Yeah.
All right. On the Bengals side of things, much more stable compared to the Bills. So linebacker looking totally good. Logan Wilson, 100%. Jermaine Pratt, 97%. Safety also looking pretty good. Dax Hill, 100%. Nick Scott still holding off. Jordan Battle, 88% to 14%. Pass rush, totally normal. Hendrickson, 84%. Hubbard down a little bit to 69%. Could just be game script. DJ Reader, 64%. BJ Hill, 69%. Anything on the Bengals?
Definitely think, looking at it on paper, believe it or not, with Stroud doing what he's doing for Houston, it's kind of like the matchup versus the Bills was last week when it lines up. So DJ's Reader and Hill should be fairly decent, but I think Sam Hubbard and Hendricks will have a little bit of a tough time. So Hubbard had been outproducing the matchups, but he's kind of hit a wall lately. Really strong for the linebackers with Logan Thomas and Jermaine Pratt. I don't like it as much for the secondary, but, they're going to produce. Stroud's been amazing so far this year.
And Chargers Jets is in progress as we speak. No real concerns except Kenneth Murray was super questionable going into the week. He is playing tonight. We know Nick Niemann's the backup. And we've got 4 teams on bye: Broncos, Jags, Lions, and 49ers. In no particular order. Broncos, our main concern is the second safety next to Simmons. We'll see who that is. Jags, is Andre Sisco healthy? If not, Wingard is the option. Lions, Jack Campbell, does the playing time maintain? And 49ers, Chace Young on a new team, and Dre Greenlaw, always questionable.
Here it is. You got to pick one.